Funding for this program was provided in part by the RE Synergy Foundation. Content for the Sustainable World.
My dad was an old-school surgeon who always wished he was a rancher, and a man who took life by the horns and ran with it. Think John Wayne meets Ernest Hemingway meets Teddy Roosevelt. One thing that always embarrassed me, though, was that if my dad saw something interesting wherever he was, he'd go ask about it. He'd start up impromptu conversations with perfect strangers about crop rotation, cattle genetics, or how to get all those pieces of firewood in the load to stay on top of that one little donkey. I was mortified as a kid. Well, I grew up, and now that's me. I married a perfect man with itchy feet who loves all things music and film and who makes documentaries just for the love of it. If you dump all of those things into a petri dish and let them stew for 25 years of blissful chaos, what do you get? Well, welcome to my life of vicarious agriculture. Come on along for the ride.
Hi, I'm Anson Tebbetts. We're in Cabot, Vermont, and I'm the Secretary of Agriculture, Food and Markets for the state of Vermont.
That sounds very grandiose. It is grandiose because I understand. I've read a little bit on you, and one of the articles said you have 150 people that you manage and a $51 million budget, and yet Vermont it's sparse. I mean, it's one of the less populated states in the United States, right?
Well, we're in a back road, and there's thousands of back roads in the state of Vermont. We have about 660,000 people, so we're pretty small.
Yep.
We have a delegation in Washington. We have 2 senators, and we have 1 representative.
We know him.
Unless we get quite a few more people to come to Vermont, I think we're going to have 1 representative down in Washington.
I think he's got enough character to last for all,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And Vermonters are very interesting. We have, we've come here a couple times, and you guys are an independent lot.
We are. We have a strong independent streak, and I think it has a lot to do with our agriculture roots. We work the land with families, maybe going hours and days at a time without seeing anyone, just with your animals and your land. So we knew how to get things done, but we're, as I like to say, darn tough. I have darn tough socks on.
I have my darn tough set.
So
not today.
These are
I got 3 or 4 pairs of those, and they're fantastic.
Darn Tough, which is a wonderful Vermont company. And so
we could hit the factory here, couldn't we?
Yeah, you could.
I could buy my socks here.
You could buy all your socks here.
Well, and Ben and Jerry's here. You got Darn Tough and Ben and Jerry's. Tell me that's not fantastic,
We've got
right?
all kinds of. We got Cabot cheese, the Cabot cheese plants just down.
We came through there and saw that.
That's
wow.
where it started. My grandfather was one of the first to bring his milk to the co-op, to the Cabot co-op. And here we are. I don't know, I guess they're probably 105 years old, something like that. They're still going strong, a national brand, but it was a bunch of farmers from Cabot that brought their milk down to start making cheese, and now it's a national brand.
But this is not, it is a national brand. I've heard about it in California, and yet there's this tiny little town here. Isn't that just a representation of Vermont in a way, right?
And we have all kinds of cheesemakers across Vermont. We have, they may be making a soft cheese. Cabot's famous for its cheddar, but they also make yogurt and cottage cheese and all kinds of wonderful dairy products. But Vermont, right, currently probably has around 500 dairy farms. We have a goat industry as well. We have a major national brand, Vermont Creamery. They make a goat cheese. They also make a cultured butter.
Okay, what is cultured butter?
Well, butter's having a moment across the United States.
Butter's had a moment for me for years.
Yeah, well, it's really having a moment now, and I would call it maybe a premium or a high-end butter, really rich and creamy. The pandemic in some aspects really helped agriculture, particularly on the baking side.
Interesting, because everybody stayed home and
everyone had to find something to do. We also have King Arthur flour.
Do you really?
In Vermont.
That's Vermont.
In Vermont, King Arthur flour. So King Arthur gets together with the butter people, and we made a lot of bread, and we're still making bread, making cookies. We talk about the size of Vermont. Vermont is a small state, so we have to be focused on quality, and that's where we can make our inroads. We're blessed that we have significant markets to the south of us. So we're talking New York City, Boston,
Well-
Washington, Philadelphia.
But
So that's where our products are sold.
Yeah, but I was going to ask you because this is, you look and you can see for miles there's just trees and trees and trees, and we came up this road, and it really did get me to thinking about your distribution channels, right? Mm-hmm. Because you still do have to get the products there. And I know, again, from what I was reading about you, that you're a person that really enjoys the local food support. So how do you reconcile that part, and how do you kind of utilize it without overutilizing it to truck something, what, six hours down the road to New York?
About 5 hours.
Yeah.
So, you know, we make wonderful products, high quality products here in Vermont. But one of the biggest challenges in any agriculture enterprise is getting that to market and distribution, transportation. We do have a significant e-commerce element of our agriculture now. So maybe you came to Vermont and visited Vermont and you had a wonderful cheese. Maybe you're at a restaurant and you're wondering what that is. Well, you can go back home now and you can log on to your computer and they'll ship that to you.
Isn't that an amazing thing?
Immediately.
Yeah.
So that's a significant part of that. And we saw that during COVID. We saw a lot of companies that lost their markets because of restaurants being closed, institutions being closed.
Yeah.
So they had to pivot to survive. And what they did was they stood up new websites. They started putting, stuff in the mail. The back roads in Vermont maybe don't have much traffic, but the traffic that they do have from time to time is that UPS truck coming to pick up. Maybe it's cheese, maybe it's beef. We have a Wagyu beef operation in Springfield, Vermont, and they're selling to that 40-year-old gentleman in Chicago who wants to have a cookout on Friday night at his home. They put it in the mail on Tuesday. Friday night, he's got this world-class beef that he can
amazing.
He can cook.
That's
So there's
amazing.
those opportunities are there. So, but you're right. A lot of our challenge is getting that to a market. But we have an audience that connects with Vermont, and some of it may be through recreation. So a lot of skiers come out of
Yes.
New York, Massachusetts, Philadelphia, Washington. They come to our ski areas. They love our open spaces. They love our green hills. They love our wonderful mountains with snow. They love our beer. They love our wine. They love our spirits, and they love our food and
Your
our
ice
cheese
cream.
and our ice cream.
And your socks.
Yeah, and our socks. So that's what we have to do. And some of those people that visit have resources that they'll pay for that premium product.
Yeah.
So that's some of the markets we do, but not without a tremendous amount of work, either on the land with the animals, or getting it distributed and getting it to those people down in New York City and Manhattan, the Bronx. They love Vermont.
Yeah, but it's a really interesting place. Vermont is sort of the forgotten place up north in a way. We're, 50, 60 miles from the Canadian border here? Montreal is just right down the road, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people actually in Vermont gravitate more to Montreal to visit the city sometimes.
Yeah.
And we have a French-Canadian heritage. A lot of people came down from Quebec.
And the cheese, I wonder how much that impacts the
The
cheeses.
cheese, they love our cheese up there.
Yeah.
It's a market we'd like to do more with in Canada, but they have certain trade agreements that are really hard to penetrate sometimes with dairy in Canada. They're very protective of their farmers and their economy, but there is a real connection to Montreal, Quebec City, and just over the border in Canada. There's wonderful cheesemakers just across the border. So a lot of Vermonters go up there. A lot of Canadians come down here, enjoy what we have, depending on how the dollar's doing.
So even if you don't ship to Chicago or California or wherever, you do have two major cities, and they're two major cities of immigrants here. Boston's fairly close by, and again Montreal, but Boston and New York City. So you get a lot of different tastes that come your way, and again a lot of the French influence, I would think, which is cheese heavy. My grandfather was Belgian, and so he was a cheese guy, but the French influence was very definitely on the cheese side of things, and cultured foods. So I understand that it's not just dairy. You say, okay, Vermont's a dairy place, but it's those peripheral products that have a better value per ounce, correct?
Absolutely. We have a lot of, we have pastured pork now. We have pastured poultry. We have wonderful eggs. We have incredible vegetables that people are producing. Some of those are in retail markets. Some of them are in farmers markets. We have a vibrant farmers market culture here, many on Saturdays in some of our biggest cities of Montpelier and in Burlington, but they're also in smaller communities, and those are supporting. I think a lot of the models that prove more successful sometimes are those that go directly to the consumer now, and the consumer is the boss. The consumer wants to know, how that animal was raised. They want to know how that carrot was grown. They want to know the families. They want to know the story behind it. And Vermont's got a wonderful story. They can tell that story because they take tremendous care in their land and their animals and how they grow their food in a safe way. So that's kind of where we have to be in our space. We're just coming off maple season. We're the #1 maple producer in the United States.
You waited this long in this conversation
Well,
to bring
I know.
up maple.
Maple. I mean, maple is, annually Vermont produces about 2 million gallons of maple.
Wow.
About 50% of the maple in the United States. There's opportunity for tremendous growth, I think, in maple because not everyone is familiar with it. And we found that, again, more value-added products are using maple as a natural sweetener. So it could be a barbecue sauce.
A lot of food.
A lot of food.
Putting it in food instead of just pancakes, which is what I always associated.
Maple Manhattans and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard you like those maple Manhattans.
Well, I don't know about we try to moderation, but there's tremendous opportunity. But a lot of America is not familiar with it, so we need to think about that more. Like getting into some of those markets, Canada is a huge influence on the maple world.
They got a maple bank, right? I mean, they
yeah.
bank it like we have Fort Knox. They have their maple reserve,
Right?
Which is makes sense if it's a significant portion of your agricultural production and therefore your economic driver.
There's nothing more natural than maple because all you're doing is taking maple sap from a tree, and you boil it down into a syrup.
Yes.
There's no additives. There's no anything. It takes about 40 gallons of maple sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup, but it's so natural. But people are looking for those, and it tastes wonderfully. It's more than just for pancakes and waffles. We're using it in barbecue sauces, we're using it in spirits, we're using it in beer, etc. And it's just a natural sweetener that I think more of the United States would love to experience.
The dark stuff has almost like a molasses tinge to it, but I could see how with baking is just a whole different animal than that sugar artificial stuff.
There's maple pies, you can make maple candy with it, and every sugar maker is a little bit different, and it depends on the season. Early in the season, sometimes the syrup is a little bit lighter, not as dense. Towards the end, it can be darker. But a lot of the folks, I think the consumer is really liking the darker, kind of the robust flavor for it now, and that's used a lot for cooking. We have something in Vermont called the creamy, which the rest of the world calls soft serve or soft ice cream.
Okay.
That you talked about Vermont being a little different. We call it creamy, and we even spell it differently. We spell it Creemie, and there's nothing more special than a maple creamy, merging the two iconic products from Vermont, dairy and maple.
Unless you try and ship it to Chicago, in which case I'm assuming that doesn't
Well,
go
we
so
can do that. We actually have an artisan small batch ice cream person that they can get it to you in the mail now. They do that. So a little bit of dry ice, and we can get you that wonderful ice cream in the mail from Vermont as well. So that's
pretty impressive. Isn't
it? It's very impressive. In fact, they created a company to create dry ice because of the need of that as well. So it's one of those diversified ag operations
Keep
where
adding more and more and more and more.
So
well, that is also one of the things that I was going to ask you about. I'm sort of jumping all over on my mental list of questions I had, but in one of the articles you spoke about the labor component of agriculture, and that's something that as the Secretary of Agriculture, I'm assuming you kind of have to manage that too. And I know that in California we have a real issue with people wanting to. I mean, farm life is not easy, and picking fruits and vegetables or working on a farm or working with animals, it can be a pretty rough life. And there's a lot of people that just plain don't want to do it. So how do you manage that in a place like Vermont where people are not so common as the trees?
Yeah, we, agriculture has so many rewards, but also has many challenges. And one of those challenges is labor. As Americans, we have so many choices now what we want to do with our lives. We can, we want to work in an office, we want to work at home, we can be on a computer, we can work in a field, we can work in a factory, we can work for ourselves. So we have so many options. And part of that is that we are, challenged to find enough workers. And maybe that's making cheese, from time to time. And a lot of it's all connected with housing as well.
Yes.
So in Vermont, we have a housing issue. We don't have enough affordable housing for workers. It's expensive to build and have a home. And if you don't have a home, you may not be able to work close to where you want to work and live. So it's a lot of those challenges. But like many of our states, we do rely on foreign labor. That's part of the equation. And without it, I don't think we would have as many wonderful products that are on the shelves in supermarkets without the support of foreign labor. But it's part of what Vermont is. We also have seasonal people that come, particularly in the apple industry. We have, for decades, Jamaicans have come here to help pick the apples in our orchards. That continues. They like it. They come back year after year. Generations of families have come back. So it's just part of the equation. Isn't
that a nice thing? Sort of one of those cycles of life kind of thing? The seasons come and the seasons go and people move about?
Yeah, they have wonderful relationships, and some of those are doing supporting other industries, like maybe processing poultry. In the fall, we have a few commercial turkey operations.
Okay.
Nothing better than a fresh Vermont turkey for Thanksgiving. So they help with processing as well in some of our, not huge operations, but they're commercial. And it's another diversified operation that some of our farms are doing.
Now, I'm trying to remember. I think Vermont was the place where a couple of years ago they were offering people something like $10,000 to come live here. Is that right?
We did have an incentive in Vermont. It was very successful. And one of the things that was very successful is, like you remembered it. So the media did all the wonderful advertising.
Isn't that the joy of media?
Yeah, it did all the marketing team could not have spent that much money telling people to come to Vermont. But we did have incentives. So if you wanted to come here, work here are our friends. Why don't we, here. Hey guys. Jesus. I took them to the governor has a tree lighting every year at the State House. I got to bring one of my mini donkeys for the tree lighting. Come on guys.
I guess I should ask, do you have any dogs, and are the fences hot?
Fences are not hot. They're okay. Come on. You want to come across and go in your little pasture for a bit? Zoe, Franny, Sadie. And I got them 3 years ago. Come on, guys. You want to come across? Oh, we got to get some treats. That's what you want.
Because that lush grass is not enough, huh?
Hey. They like peppermint.
Hi.
Did you know
is it okay to
Oh, yeah. Did you know donkeys love peppermint?
No, I did not.
So,
Hi.
Here's a lifesaver. I love the sound when they...
That's all. I only had one.
Here.
Oh, boy, they're warm.
Yeah, they're nice.
They're really
So
warm.
my goal is to eventually learn how to cart them, but I haven't had enough time.
You could serve tea on the back of this little one here.
I know.
Look at that.
The rooster, you heard the rooster, he jumped on the back of him. Hey, you want to come across? Why don't we go across the here?
Okay, I got to take a picture of that.
Here we go. Yeah.
I don't have a tree.
You want a treat?
So now tell us a little bit about, because that's one of the reasons that we came to talk to you is because of the cows. And we
Yeah.
talked about the Devon thing. And I don't know if you know anything about this because it was a little harder to track down, but the Devon cattle are said to be on the Vermont state flag. Is that a truism?
They are. If you look at the state flag of Vermont, the Green Mountain State, there is a red cow on the flag, and a Devon, right? A Devon on the flag. And hey, guys. Must be
Got
the
a
sheep.
riot going on in the
The
background.
sheep. Ooh, that's some green grass. No, I mean, you know, Vermont was, founded on hard work and agriculture, and of course, cows and sheep and horses are all part of that. So, you know, when I think of the Devon, you think of the milking Devon, but there's also the Devon where they were helping with sugaring. We talk about sugaring. So in the good old days, before there was pipeline systems where you could, they put a tap in, you have a pipeline, you had to gather the sap. So a Devon, a team of Devon, red Devons is classic Vermont, where they, gather the sap, a team of oxen, but they were the red Devon, and there's lots of pictures in the history books of Vermont of that.
In February, they actually hitched them up for it. Made you understand how much easier it was with a tractor. But the animal is always thought of as sort of a bizarre thing that you don't really expect a herd of galloping donkeys to go past.
Hey guys, that's kind of strange. They don't normally do
You're
that.
gonna keep going?
It could be you. It could be they're not used to you. Hey! That's weird. As long as they don't go to the neighbors. Hey! Hey, guy. Oh, you still have your...
All that and still has a lifesaver?
Come on. You gotta have your lifesaver. Here they come. I think it's spring,
Well, that did look really fun there for a little bit, didn't it?
They are incredibly smart.
So we got to go down there and watch them do the maple sugaring, but hitch the Devon oxen up. And that's a really important thing. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's a really important thing because that's one of the reasons they pulled these little cattle over, I understand, because they were just fantastic in terms of oxen.
Incredible smarts, incredible strength, and you could, when hauling sap, you go out into the woods and you got the buckets, you gather some sap, you got the gathering tank, the oxen are right there holding it, a couple of commands, and they'll do what they're told.
Yeah.
So, it's part of Vermont's history is, the animal working with animals and, producing maple, or maybe it was plowing. Some people may use some of that, or hauling, etc. And then, of course, the breed for milking as well. Incredibly rich milk. And we talk about butter and butter fat. That seems to be the trend. A lot of components now are really important for milk, so it's producing, more butter, more cheese, more yogurt, etc.
Yeah, that's one of those reasons why you look at it and say, absolutely, you can bring that little cat. Devonshire cream, have you ever tasted that?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, just the butter flat is just a lovely thing. So I can see how if you have an animal, especially in an area like this, where there's a little bit of rock up here, isn't there?
There is, and Vermont, good portions of our farms are on hillsides, and it's rocky. One activity that many a hired hand or a farmer has quit is something called picking stone. And I'm sure there was a team of Devons along the way that maybe were hauling after collecting the stones, after plowing, putting them in the wagon and taking them and you'll see the stone walls throughout Vermont is part of that operation of cleaning the fields from stone, making them as fenceways, etc. So that's part of our history, and I'm pretty sure some Devon cattle had a part in that over the years.
And I would think that's really representative of many things. So in agriculture, it's not just about the butter, even though it really kind of should be about the butter. But it's not just about the butter, it's also about working the land, too.
Yeah, and you know, this time of year we're blessed. You can see that very green. We have wonderful grasses that produce wonderful forage for animals. And if you feed a dairy cow incredible grass, they will produce more milk. You can tell the difference at times, after they first go out on grass. And of course, the hay that is produced needs to be put up through the winter, because we only have really May, June, July, August, and September to produce crops in Vermont, and the rest of the time it's either too cold or too snowy. You know, we have a significant organic dairy industry and vegetable industry in Vermont, and about 25% of our dairies are organic, and many of them use a grass-based system. Many smaller farms, most of the organic dairies in Vermont are on the small side. You may have a couple that are maybe 200 cows, but most of them are in the 50, 60, that realm. So go on in there, come on.
But I would think this isolated, maybe organics are a little easier, potentially.
Yeah, and I think Vermont is, and it has a lot to do with our, our geography. Some of our smaller farms, hillside farms, they're not, may not have the land base to have, significant animals, both for, managing the manure systems, et cetera, and that many animals. Like our farm is about 360 acres. It's certified organic, but the people that raise the dairy, they have probably 100 milkers.
Yeah.
So that's it's the size. But
so you have 2 sheep too. What kind of sheep?
Those are like a Columbia, and we used to have, when I was growing up, we had about 200 of them.
So Columbias do okay here too.
Yeah, they do. They're dual purpose.
Because I know they have a lot of them up in the western ranges.
Yeah.
But
no, they were, and they're just pets now. But I've taken sheep in parades. But you can sort of see the pasture in between the barn and there. That's where we had sheep. We had a sheep shed, and back in the 60s and 70s, we had 200 sheep, 40 cows, etc. But sheep are we need more sheep's milk in Vermont. That's another thing we're working on. We need more goat's milk. We're trying to grow the industry in Vermont, goats. It needs to be at a certain scale. One of the challenges we need more technical assistance, because it is not a cow, and you cannot treat a goat like a cow. So we need that support of technical assistance. If it gets ill, how do you treat it? How do you okay. Come on, guys. She's getting upset. She's alone. Come on. Come on.
I'm going to open the gate, or don't dare?
Yeah, I think you can.
To go out? You think I can?
Well, that's tricky. I have terrible time with it too. I don't know what it is, but it's...
Okay, hold on. Now I got it.
All right, guys.
Okay, guys. Nope, you stay in there.
There you go. There you go. Now we're all back.
Boy, that was a joyous moment, though, wasn't it?
That was like adventure to no end.
Yes,
Agriculture every day is different. There's something wonderful that happens. Some days are rough, and that's okay. It's not every day is going to be a joy. Not everything's going to be easy or fun.
But you can go to bed at night hopefully feeling like you made a difference, right?
That's right, and it's and you can never really do enough, and that's the part of the job I struggle, because you want to help everybody, and sometimes you're just bound by the circumstances for whatever reason that you can't help. But every day we wake up hoping we can do a better job than the day before.